Hi guys, my name's Emma and this is my favorite nurse Courtney, and today we are going to be giving a lesson on leukemia. Specifically, I have pre-B acute lymphoblastic leukemia, which what does that even mean?
That is a great question, Emma. What do you think that means to you? What have you heard that leukemia means?
Well, I think that it means that my white blood cells are not are not functioning the way they're supposed to be, so I can't fight infections. And that's pretty much all I got.
Okay. Yeah, no, you're absolutely on the right track. What Emma has is she said we sort of shorten it, we call it pre-B ALL. So ALL is a type of leukemia, and what leukemia is that it's a cancer of the blood, and it's specifically a cancer of the white blood cells. And so what ends up happening when you get diagnosed, Emma, is oftentimes people come in feeling very tired. Their red blood cell levels are really low. Sometimes they have a lot of bruising, so their platelet levels are really low. But more specifically, they have issues with their white blood cells. And so what happens in the body with leukemia is it's something that randomly happens. Okay, so it's not something that anybody did. It's not because of something you ate, something you drank, somewhere you went.
It's just special chosen people.
It is. It's totally special chosen people. And so what happens when you, in your body, the way that I like to describe it, is it's kind of like we all have a light switch that's inside of our body, okay? And for the most part, this light switch is off for all of us. But what happens when the leukemia gets triggered is that light switch flips on. And what happens in that is the body sends messages telling us that it needs specific types of blood cells to be made. And what happens is that message then gets triggered on, and your body starts to make cancer cells instead of the type of cells that they're supposed to make. So I have a little graph that I find is really easy to look at. And so I'm going to kind of show the group. You can see at the top here is something that we call a stem cell. Okay? Sometimes in the world of oncology, we call it a mother cell. And the reason we call it a mother cell is your body sends messages to the stem cell that tells it what to make. So if it's low on white blood cells, it tells it to make a white blood cell. If it's low on a red blood cell, it tells it to make it a red blood cell. And this stem cell can become whatever the body tells it. So in your case, right, so we still have our map. In your case, the body tells it that it needs to become a B lymphocyte, which is down this side over here, okay? So the body says, okay, and it says, I'm going to become a B lymphocyte. The stem cell starts to make that. It makes its way into the lymphocyte line, and right before it becomes a B lymphocyte, becomes a cancer cell and pushes itself out into your bloodstream. And then your body says, hey, I told you I needed a B lymphocyte. You didn't make one. So it turns it again, and it keeps doing it, and it becomes this vicious cycle where instead of becoming it, it becomes cancer cells. And so it makes cancer cell after cancer cell after cancer cell. And the only way to stop that is by starting chemotherapy,
Right.
which you've already started.
We did. So, because I am making cancer cells instead of my white blood cells, explains why, when I did come in first in the beginning, I was so tired and I had some bruising, and that explains the symptoms. So that's what you really have to look out for.
Right. And part of the problem, too, is that your body was making so many cancer cells that it crowds out the space, and
Right.
it doesn't allow your body to make the right things it needs, like the red blood cells and the platelets.
Right.
So you become anemic, meaning you don't have enough red blood cells or enough hemoglobin is what we use. So that makes you very tired. You look really pale. Some people have not now, but when you come in, and so a lot of people too have a little bit of difficulty breathing because they don't have enough energy to actually work. And then your platelets is what it's what clots your blood. So some people come in with really large bruises and miss Emma has a perfect example of what can happen when you get big bruises.
Yes.
But once we start chemotherapy, what it does is it turns off that light switch. So now your body can't make those cancer cells anymore.
Which is what we want.
Exactly.
No cancer.
No cancer. That's the aim of all of this, right?
Right.
Yes. But it's a very long treatment for you.
It is.
Do you remember how long it is?
2 years. Full 2 years, and then checkups after that for even longer.
Exactly. But ideally, within the first month is when we hope that Emma no longer has any signs of her leukemia in her body. And we're almost at that 1 month mark, right?
We are.
Yep. So we're going to get those big tests done hopefully this week or next week.
Okay, so with the chemo treatments, what are like the biggest side effects from the chemos that I have to take specifically for my ALL?
Great question. So the type that you have, so ALLs receive different treatment than other leukemias. But so for Emma's type, the first one that she takes is a steroid, and it's called prednisone. What do you think is your biggest side effect you've noticed from the prednisone?
Crazy food cravings.
You got it. So it's a steroid. So it makes her very, very, very hungry.
Or very, very, very nauseous.
Yep. It can also make you very, very, very nauseous.
There's no in between. It's one or the other.
And the one thing that Emma doesn't really seem to have, but it also can make people a little bit moody. However, Emma always has a great outlook on things and tries to see the positive, so we love that. We'll take the eating and the nausea over that. So those are the big things with that one. You receive another drug called vincristine. You get that once a week.
Clinic days.
On clinic days. We love vincristine because it works really well, but the biggest side effect for that one,
Isn't that the pain one? The face pain?
it can cause some
And
pain in the
pain.
face and the leg pain. And what I'm
And
proud
the tummy pain.
and the tummy pain. It can kind of stop things from moving. That's not really what we like, so we keep a really close eye on that. And then you also get the daunorubicin, which is another drug.
It's red.
And it is red. So the biggest thing that we remember with the red drugs is they affect your
Heart.
They affect your heart long
And
term.
isn't that the hair one? Is that the one that makes your hair fall out?
It does, yep. The daunorubicin is going to make her hair fall out.
Well, it did.
It did. But the best part about that is you get to wear fun scarves and fun hats, right?
Yeah.
Very beautifully tied.
Thank you.
And then the last one that you get during that time period is the one called pegasparaginase. And you just get that once during that time period. And that one, the only thing that's not very fun about that one, even though you did really well with it, is it can cause allergic reactions. So
But I didn't have an allergic
yeah,
reaction.
you did really well with that one.
Awesome.
Yeah, but the chemo's intensive for the first month.
Yes. And
yes.
Let's talk about the stages of the treatments, because the first stage is, what is it called?
The first stage is called induction, and it's the most important phase.
That's the one that's supposed to be the hardest, right? It's gonna hit the hardest.
Yep, and what we really want to do in that one is that's where we turn everything off. We shut off that light switch and we stop her body from being able to make any more cancer. So at the end of the month, that's when we do the check. So what we do is we take a sample of her bone marrow, because the center of the bone marrow is where we make all of our blood. And so we're going to check that to see that there's no signs of cancer. And ideally, that's the results we get. And even if those are the results we get, you still complete your full 2 to 2.5 years of treatment. It's a very long treatment.
Stays away.
Exactly. And the way we explain that is we've shut off the light switch. And the last 2 years, what we do is we go into the wall and cut all that wiring so that your cancer can't ever switch back on again.
Which is exactly what we want.
You,
no cancer.
You got it. Very
Oh,
good. The only thing that I will say is, just so people know, the type of cancer you have is actually the most common cancer that we see in patients. The only thing that makes it a little tough for Emma is she's older. So anybody over the age of 10 puts them in kind of a higher risk category, but it is the most common, and so we actually have the best treatments for that. So we know
Yeah,
what
and
to
the
do.
most research
The most
has been done,
research. Yep.
and it's had really good outcomes for a lot of people. So
Absolutely. Yep.
can you say that again?
Thanks for letting me sit with you, Emma, and letting me explain everything to you.
Thank you for being a guest star on my show.
You're welcome. Woo!
High five.